What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I am your host. I am Caitlin Kenna-Smith, and on today's episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about the best strategies, in my opinion. Again, everything that I report on this podcast, I do a ton of research, I do a lot of my own education, and I have over 10 years of experience in the fitness industry, as well as my own fitness journey. All of these things are my opinion. So, in my opinion, the best strategies to alleviate pain. And I'm going to talk specifically today about chronic pain associated with muscle pain and joint pain. And the reason why I wanted to bring this topic up is because it's one of the things that so many people don't really think about when they first start a fitness journey. When they first start a fitness journey, generally it has something to do with aesthetics, right? They want to lose body fat, they want to gain lean muscle tissue, they just want to feel more confident in their own skin. They usually had a moment where maybe they took a photo and they didn't like how they looked in the photo, or they were walking up the stairs and they were completely out of breath, or they went to try on some clothes and they didn't fit right, they looked in the mirror and they didn't feel good. But one thing that I feel like is so underrated is the ability that fitness and health has to be able to improve your quality of life, specifically associated with chronic pain. The amount of people that I've worked with over the past decade, I've worked with so many different people, and I'm so blessed to be able to have the opportunity to do that because I've been able to work with all different people with all different experiences and with all different goals and all different unique circumstances. So some people may be able to recover better from different training modalities, while other people, maybe they can't do as much volume without injuring themselves, or we have to prioritize recovery a lot more for one individual versus another individual, really based upon where they're at in their life, how long they've been training for, how new they are to the gym, or how new they are to fitness and nutrition, but also what kind of stress is going on outside of the gym. Because a lot of people don't realize that the stress that goes on outside of the gym, life, work, family, sleep, lack of sleep, all has an impact on your results inside of the gym. I talk about it all the time when it comes to earning results. You have to apply an appropriate amount of stress, which leads to your body adapting. Sorry, I struggled there. You have to apply an appropriate amount of stress, which leads to your body adapting. When your body adapts, meaning it recovers, and when you recover, that's when you start to earn the results. Now, if you're applying more stress than what's appropriate, you're not going to be able to adapt, you're not going to be able to recover, and your results are going to be stalled or limited. So we have to apply an appropriate amount of stress. Now, when it comes to chronic pain, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I've seen my father become literally destroyed by back pain. Back pain that led him to take painkillers, become addicted to painkillers, Oxy, and it destroyed our entire family. And I don't want somebody else to be put in that situation where they're faced with a decision to, one, feel like they are forced to take over-the-counter painkillers that become extremely addictive, and understanding that you don't have to settle for pain. Because there are a lot of people who aren't willing to take over-the-counter painkillers because of certain situations like the one that I went through, like the one that my family went through. Maybe they have an addictive gene in the family and they know that if they were to start taking something like that, it would probably lead down the wrong path. Or maybe they just don't like putting stuff in their body. I know my husband doesn't even take Tylenol because he doesn't want to take anything that he doesn't know how his body will react to. But I want you to understand that if you do have chronic pain, which it is very common, unfortunately, because of the lifestyle that most Americans live, where we're very sedentary, you don't have to settle with your chronic pain. There are so many different strategies that you can do when it comes to your lifestyle that will help to improve them. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. So, number one, let's talk a couple of statistics, because chronic pain is extremely, extremely common. But just because something's common doesn't mean it's normal and doesn't mean that you settle with it. 50 million American adults experience chronic pain, which is defined as pain lasting more than or equal to 3 months. And this is from 2016. Now, in 2021, it was estimated to be more like 51.6 million, or 29% of all Americans experiencing chronic pain, with 7% of that, meaning around 17 million, was considered high-impact chronic pain, which was defined as chronic pain that resulted in substantial restriction of daily activity. So that kind of back pain where you can't get out of bed and you have to call out of work. Or that kind of back pain where you can't play with your kids anymore because it's just too painful. Or that chronic back pain that you're unable to work out, meaning that you're gaining body fat and you're unable to control your mood and depression. Now, again, the only problem with statistics when it comes to chronic pain is that a lot of times it's going to be underreported because, again, the 51 million adults who experience chronic pain as of 2020, those are just of those who reported it. How many of you who are listening have had chronic pain lasting more than 3 months, whether it be knee pain, back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, some sort of pain, but you didn't go to a doctor for it because you're a stubborn individual like myself? I know I have. I've had back pain that's lasted longer than 3 months, but I haven't gone and done anything about it because I know as a trainer, as a coach, as a fitness person, that I can fix it if I do the right things, okay? Now, the most common pain when it comes to chronic pain is back pain, which is why I continue to refer to it. I'm sure all of us have experienced especially lower back pain at some point in time in our lives, and it's miserable. It's like, have you ever just for me, do a deadlift and you pulled it a little bit wrong, or you had a little bit of an imbalance or an instability in a muscle and it just pulled the wrong way, and for the next couple days you're struggling to even get out of bed because it's so tight. It's debilitating and it's very painful, and I know that every time that I experience lower back pain, it kind of puts me into a terrible mood. I have more depression, I have a little bit more anxiety just because pain isn't comfortable, and I don't like feeling like I'm not in control of my body. And I mean, think about it. When you're in so much pain that you're unable to do just basic shit, it's depressing. It's easy to fall into that kind of a state. So like I said, the most common chronic pain is back pain, with 84% of people reporting it at some point in their life. That's a lot of people. And it's followed by joint pain, head pain, and nerve pain. So again, for today's context, we're going to be focusing on joint pain, back pain. So back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, hip pain, as well as, of course, foot pain, which is pretty common as well with plantar fasciitis, and neck pain. So first, I want to talk about how we can address it. So most people make a mistake when they have chronic pain. They avoid movement and they rest. Now, resting is important for any kind of pain, but it's more important for acute pain. So an injury, say you literally sprained your ankle, it's going to be really important for you to rest the ankle and not do excessive movement on the ankle to be able to reduce the inflammation and cause it to heal. So that way you can get back into doing what you usually do. Now, when it comes to chronic pain requires an active approach. And that doesn't mean that you're white-knuckling your way through it. If you have really bad back pain, I'm not telling you to go and just do your deadlifts anyway. Maybe you should be a little smarter about it, lower the weight, do a different movement for that day. But doing targeted exercises and regular activity is actually going to help alleviate that chronic pain more than just sitting on your ass would. And I'm sure somebody has heard this, where motion is lotion. And you can kind of think about it when you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, if you've been struggling with back pain, for example, usually it's going to be worse in the morning because you've been laying flat, stiff, not moving around, no blood flow to the area for a very long time. So it's going to take you a little bit of time once you get up in the morning to kind of, warm things up a bit. I know my husband has a lot of knee pain. That's just called being in the military, jumping out of planes and doing all that bullshit. And with his knee pain, of course, it's always worse in the morning. And he understands that, hey, I'm not able to train first thing in the morning if it's heavy squats or heavy lunges or anything like that, because I need to give my body time to almost wake up and warm up. And once the joints and the ligaments get warm, then it's a lot better. It's not fixed, but it's a lot better. So when it comes to chronic pain, you have to understand that if you just don't do anything, you're going to make it worse. For example, if you have knee pain and your doctor says, hey, just don't squat. Look, if you don't use it, you will lose it. If you have knee pain, it's usually not caused by dysfunction in the knee joint. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, the first thing that we need to focus on when it comes to addressing chronic pain is lifestyle. Basics, foundations, the big rocks. So the way that I like to put this is if I were to throw a rock into a lake, if I throw a little pebble, it's going to make kind of a little bit of like spirals and waves, and eventually they'll stop. Now, if I throw a big boulder into the lake, number one, I'm fucking strong if I'm throwing boulders into a lake. But number two, those ripples will carry out further and make a bigger impact. And that's what you want to think of lifestyle as, because lifestyle is going to be the number one thing. If you do targeted exercises and correctional exercises and mobility and stretching when it comes to chronic pain, yes, it will help. But if your diet is shit, you're not sleeping, and you're not prioritizing resistance training and movement in general, you're not going to be able to get the best results when it comes to pain. Nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, stress management, quality of nutrition specifically, because if you're eating crap, your body's probably going to be in an inflamed state more often than not. If you're over consuming calories, that will also lead to inflammation. So you have to also be able to manage calories, where you're not over-consuming, where you're focusing on protein intake, because protein is going to help rebuild and repair the muscles and joints and tendons, but also focusing on the quality of the food that you're eating, making sure you're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables that are going to help with lowering oxidative stress, with helping to reduce inflammation, and to help with your overall recovery. The reality is, poor lifestyle is going to equal inflammation, and it's going to allow your body to be less resilient. So if you do have an injury, whether it's an acute or a chronic injury, you're not going to be able to bounce back as quickly because your body's not able to recover with no tools. It's kind of like if I were to say, hey, I'm going to give you a map, I'm going to give you a blueprint and you're going to build a house, but I'm not going to give you any of the materials to actually build the house. You have the idea of what to do, but without the things to actually do it, your body can't repair or rebuild. So think about it like this. Nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, stress management, quality of nutrition, and proper programming when it comes to your resistance training are going to be the pillars that are going to help to build that strong, sturdy foundation. And then anything that you add on top of that is only going to help. But if you're, for example, taking an ice bath and thinking that, oh, I'm going to do this cold plunge every single day and it's going to help me burn more body fat or be more resilient, it will help a little bit when it comes to the mindset side of things. It might help you sleep a little bit better, but it's not going to do shit if your nutrition is crap. Now, the second thing we want to focus on is targeted exercises. Like I said before, if you don't use it, you will lose it. So if you stop squatting because your knee hurts, then your body's going to adapt to lose the ability to squat. And your muscles surrounding the knee and the joints and the tendons are going to become weaker. And that's not what we want. We want the exact opposite of it. So when it comes to targeted exercises, we can break this down into a few different categories. So the first thing is just resistance training in general. So we want to combat that pain that's probably caused by poor posture and weak muscles. So for me, I used to throw my lower back out like every 4 to 6 months. It was just like clockwork. Every 4 to 6 months, whoops, I tweaked my lower back. Now I can't work out at my full capacity for a week. And my back is so tight that I, fall into a place of doom. And I think the world is ending. And then me and my coach sat down and we started to address core stability strength, lower back strength, and just addressing imbalances when it comes to specific exercises. And knock on wood, but I don't throw my back out anywhere near as often. Like I hurt my lower back actually a couple weeks ago, but it was better within 2 days. And it was the first time that I've done it in, I couldn't even tell you how long. So a lot of the pain that you experience, hip, neck, knees, shoulders, back, are resulting from poor movement patterns. And again, poor movement patterns that are caused by poor posture, weak muscles, imbalances, which are caused generally by the lifestyle that we're living. If you look at a little baby and you see a baby squat, they have like a perfect fucking squat, right? They squat down to get their toys and you're like, holy shit, that baby can squat. It's because they haven't been thrown into the sedentary lifestyle that we've been adapted to over our lifetime. Which is, again, another reason why movement in general is so important. Now, an example here is that hip and knee pain can be improved through strengthening the muscles surrounding those joints to increase the stability and the function of that joint. All right? After resistance training kind of being like the bottom of the pyramid, right? We move up to the next thing, which would be addressing muscular imbalances. So earlier I said that a lot of people have knee pain. It's not caused by the actual knee joint. It's not dysfunction in the knee joint, unless, of course, you've had a specific knee injury, or you have bone on bone, or you have some sort of cartilage damage. That's different. But unless you've been diagnosed with those things, we can assume that the dysfunction isn't in the knee itself. It's actually dysfunction in the joint above or below the joint that's hurting, which in that case would be dysfunction in the ankle or the hip. So poor ankle mobility and poor hip stability. So you want to focus on increasing your ankle and hip mobility and stability. Doing stretches like for the ankle, like combat stretch or ankle mobs or low squat holds, kind of like an Asian squat. Is that racist? No, it's not. Hip stability, you can do 90-90, you can do pigeon stretches. I'll actually throw in the show notes, I'll throw an ankle and hip mobility routine that I love to do myself and that I also love to do with my clients, because ankle and hip mobility has been something that as I've improved that, my knee pain when I used to squat, like I used to squat and get such bad knee pain or such bad hip pain on my right side. And when I started to actually foam roll my calves, foam roll my IT band, do ankle mobility, do hip stability exercises, I actually started to see improvements. And I honestly cannot tell you the last time I've had knee or hip pain when squatting. So these things you think, oh, there's no way that all of this pain can be fixed through doing these simple exercises. But I'm here to tell you that I've seen it for myself through my own journey, but I've also seen it with my client's journey. I actually had a client send me a message over the weekend saying that her hip hurt so bad and she's been stretching it and she didn't know what to do. She needed my help. I told her, hey, this is going to hurt a lot, but I need you to trust me. I need you to take your foam roller and roll out your IT band. And if you feel a really tight area, I need you to breathe into it, relax into it, loosen it up. She messaged me back about 20 minutes later and said, you are a miracle worker. I can't believe how good it feels now. So think that like you can be in such bad pain and then you do one little thing that's targeted to help loosen up the muscle or help mobilize the muscle, and it's going to help significantly. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is unilateral training. So unilateral training is training single leg or single arm. This is going to address asymmetries, which is when one side of the body is stronger or weaker than the other side of the body. So if my left leg is significantly stronger than my right leg, it's going to lead to imbalances, which can lead to hip tightness or ankle tightness on the opposite side because it's starting to compensate. So you want to break up or you want to interrupt your training occasionally with unilateral training, because most people, what they do is they train bilaterally all of the time. So if you're just doing like a basic traditional bodybuilding split, then you're probably doing back squats and deadlifts and shoulder pressing, things like that. And it would be an extremely beneficial thing for you to interrupt your training with unilateral exercises instead of bilateral for a cycle. So I'm saying like 8 to 12 weeks, instead of doing back squats, you replace your back squats with heavy split squats or barbell lunges or step-ups or different exercises such as that. Or doing single leg deadlifts instead of regular deadlifts. Or doing single arm shoulder press or single arm bench press to be able to break up or interrupt your training to help address imbalances and asymmetries that usually happen when you train the same exact way for a very long period of time. Now, the third and final thing, or I'm sorry, I guess this would be fourth thing, because I can't count. The fourth thing that you can do when it comes to your training is to do correctional exercises. So exercises focused on improving joint tracking and muscular coordination. So think things like body weight glute bridges or body weight single leg RDLs or toe touches. All of this with the purpose to correct faulty movement patterns. So a lot of people, when they do squats, they tell me that they can't feel their glutes. Like the next day they're very sore in their lower back or they're very sore in their quads, which tells me that we have problems or issues with muscular coordination when it comes to the glutes. So what I would have that individual do is before they squat, I would have them do body weight glute bridges and single leg body weight glute bridges to be able to kind of become more coordinated or more in tune with their body to be able to fire their glutes properly. Because once we can start firing the glutes properly, we're going to put less strain and tension on joints or muscles that shouldn't handle that load. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is mobility and stretching, because I know that with chronic pain, a lot of people immediately go to, I need to do more mobility, or I just need to stretch a little bit more. Now, first, I want to talk about the difference between mobility and stretching, because there is a difference, and a lot of people use these terms as the same when they are completely different. Now, mobility is defined as stretching a muscle using strength to be able to control the movement through a safe range of motion. So think strength and flexibility equal mobility. Now, stretching is defined as deliberately lengthening the muscle in order to extend the range of motion. Now, stretching isn't going to lengthen the muscle, but it's just going to increase the stretch tolerance of the muscle. Now, the thing to understand about stretching isn't going to strengthen a muscle in a extended range of motion. So mobility is generally done to help improve your strength, performance, reduce injury risk, and it's usually more dynamic and active. And it's applied to be able to help strengthen up the joints and tendons in a full range of motion. So in my opinion, mobility is going to be significantly better for chronic pain versus stretching, because it's actually going to help to fix the problem over time. Stretching will alleviate pain in the moment, but won't necessarily fix it, if that makes sense. So when it comes to mobility, focusing on mobility and stability and being able to improve things like that, like I spoke about earlier, I really focused on doing more core stability work in order to help prevent my lower back pain. So I was doing not just crunches, or I never did a crunch. I was doing more than just weighted sit-ups or leg raises. I was doing loaded carries, like a farmer's carry, an overhead carry, a single arm farmer's carry, a mixed rack carry. I was doing holds like plank holds, GHD holds, back extension holds, things like that are actually going to improve the entire core, because the core is more than just those six-pack muscles. It goes and it wraps around your entire body. So that way you can have good stability all around. Now, these are just the things that I believe are going to help you the most when it comes to helping to alleviate any sort of pain that you're going through when it comes to joint pain, back pain, muscular pain, all of those things. Now, again, I am not a doctor and I never will pretend to play one on the internet. So if you do have any specific questions, make sure that you're going to see a chiropractor, a PT, or somebody that you trust. But if you need any help when it comes to specific mobility exercises or proper resistance training programming and you want to address muscular imbalances, you can always shoot me a message on Instagram, shoot me an email. I'm always willing to help whoever needs it. That's part of my mission. Now go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.